Hey folks, welcome back to Something's Recording. My name is Colin, and today I'm going to show you my 3 go-to rock vocal effects. Okay, so these 3 effects are what I use on most of the songs I mix that are in the rock genre, okay? It's going to be a slapback delay, a reverb, and a stereo quarter note delay, okay? So these are the 3 effects here, and this is a sidechain compressor we'll get into when we talk about the delay, okay? For now, I'm going to turn them off. All right, so we're going to start with the slapback delay, okay? That's this right here. So I'll play you the vocal without any effects first, okay? So you can hear how it's sitting in the mix when it's dry. I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it. And I'm going home alone. So you can hear it's pretty dry. It sits right on top of the mix, and it doesn't have much depth to it, okay? So the first effect we're going to add is this slapback delay, okay? And this is something you hear on a lot of rock vocals. It's kind of that Foo Fighters slapback delay effect. It was used a lot with Elvis back in the day, but we're not going to go that far with it, okay? So here is the slapback delay, okay? It's set to 100 milliseconds, no feedback, 100% wet. And the thing we're doing here is we're using a low cut, so we're rolling off everything 300 and we're rolling off everything above 3K, okay? So that's going to give you a very narrow range, and then we're driving this thing all the way, okay? So we're going to get some serious distortion on it, all right? So we'll turn the slapback delay on, and I'll show you what the delay sounds like by itself, okay? I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it. And I'm going home alone. I found a way, and I'm taking it. So that's the delay just by itself, okay? The ping pong mode was on for some reason. Sometimes these settings change when the program updates. So that is the delay just by itself. You can hear the distortion on it. You can hear how it's really focused on that mid-range energy, okay? So I'll show you what that sounds like with the vocal, okay? I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it. And so the slapback delay gives us that front to rear depth, okay? It's just a little bit, 100 milliseconds, so it's right behind the vocal, and it adds a little bit of depth to the vocal. It also adds a little bit of weight to it. That delay, cranked all the way up on the drive, it really adds some weight with all that distortion, okay? So I'll pull this all the way down, and in the mix, I'll pull it all the way up, and then I'll pull it back to where it sits really nice in the mix, okay? I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it. And I'm going home alone. Oh, sorry, a little glitchy there. Sometimes the audio software doesn't get along with the video software. So that is all the way up. That's with the delay at 0, at unity gain. So you can hear that's kind of that old style slapback delay, right? Where you hear it right out front with the vocal. And it's kind of that doubling kind of effect, right? So we'll play it again and we'll pull it back to where it sits really nicely in the mix. I found a way, and I'm taking it. That's better. I'm through with the pain, done faking it. That's where I like it in the mix, okay? It's a little bit subtle inside the mix, but I'll play it again and I'll mute it and you can hear how the vocal changes. I found a way, and I'm taking it. You hear that? When I mute the delay, the vocal just jumps right out front. It feels like all disjointed from the mix, okay? So listen one more time. I found a way, and I'm taking it. That 100 millisecond delay really helps the vocal sit in the mix instead of just feeling like an element that's just added right on top, okay? So the next thing we're gonna add is the reverb. You can see it says CLA plate reverb. This is a reverb that I stole from Chris Lord LG tutorial, okay? And the technique that he uses is a really long pre-delay, okay? Okay, so this is the 140 plate, or an emulation of a 140 plate, and we have the delay set to about 2 seconds here, okay? Yeah, it's a 2-second delay, all the way wet, the width is all the way up, and here is where the secret is, okay? It's a 152 millisecond pre-delay. So the reverb doesn't start happening until 152 milliseconds after the vocal happens, okay? Once again, we have a high-pass filter here set to 300, so we're rolling everything off below 300. You don't want a lot of low end in your reverb, otherwise it will get pretty muddy. Now the reason we have this really long pre-delay is so the reverb isn't happening at the same time as the vocal, okay? When you have the reverb like this, a longer reverb, a 2-second reverb, happening at the same time as your vocal, things can get a little cloudy and it can get a little muddy. So using the pre-delay, we push the reverb after the vocal, okay? So they're not happening at the same time and they're not fighting for the same space, all right? So I'll play you what this reverb sounds like by itself, and then I'll play you what it sounds like with the vocal, and then we'll put it in the mix, and you can hear how it interacts inside the mix. So here's by itself.
I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through the pain, done faking it.
So you can hear it's slight, but it's not happening when the vocal's starting, okay? Take a look.
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
It's just slightly delayed. Now this compressor afterwards is because this vocal is a little bit dynamic, you can see. So we don't want the reverb to be all over the place. Otherwise, when you're singing a loud passage, the reverb will be louder and more powerful. And then on the subtler passages, you won't hear it as much. So this compressor is just making sure the reverb stays even. It's just a little bit. It's just 3 dB of compression there. Okay, so now with the vocal, this is what the reverb sounds like.
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
So you can hear it's that tail. It's happening after the vocal, okay? It's not happening at the same time. And I'll show you real quickly. I'll pull this pre-delay down. You can hear what it sounds like if it's happening at the same time as the vocal, okay?
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
The vocal is a little bit more low midly, and you don't hear as much of the reverb. There's not as much of a tail, okay? So we'll put that back. Take a listen one more time.
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
Okay, now we'll put it in the mix. I'll pull this down, and I will pull it all the way up, and then once again, we'll sit it right in the mix.
I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it.
Okay, now I'll add the slapback delay, and you can hear what they both sound like together, okay? You can hear the depth they add to this vocal.
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
And without,
I'm through with the pain, done faking it.
the slapback delay gives it that depth, and the reverb gives it that width to help it sit and glue into the mix, okay? Now the final thing we have here is a quarter note delay. It's a stereo quarter note delay, and I'll explain this sidechain compressor in a moment as well, okay? So here is the quarter note delay, the stereo quarter note delay by itself, okay?
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
Okay, and how we're getting this stereo delay is we have a splitter inside of Studio One, and on the left side we have a quarter note delay, but it's 10 seconds earlier, and on the right side we have a quarter note delay, but it's pushed 10 seconds late, okay? So they're both 10 seconds off of a quarter note delay, which makes it stereo. We've got the feedback at 32 milliseconds, and once again we're utilizing the onboard EQ. Everything below 300 is gone, and everything above 3K is gone. That's to make sure we don't get too much low end, we don't want it low midly and heavy, and we don't want too much high end. We don't want too much S's or too much high end bleeding through. Okay, so you heard what the delay sounds like by itself. Now I'll play it to you with the vocal, but without the sidechain compressor first, okay? So you can hear what it sounds like with just the delay.
I I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it.
So you can hear, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty ridiculous. So if I were to pull that up in the mix, it'd be very muddy, very crazy. You'd barely be able to discern what the vocal is actually saying with that crazy delay, okay? So take a listen.
I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it.
It's pretty distracting, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add a sidechain compressor, okay? So we're going to send from the dry vocal into this compressor at the end of the delay, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to compress the delay while the vocal's happening. And then when there's no vocal, it's going to open up and it's going to let that delay through, okay? So we'll add that on and I'll show you what that's doing, okay? So this is just the delay and just the vocal.
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
So it's just 3 dB of compression while the vocal is happening, okay? I'll exaggerate it for you so you can hear the effect more clearly.
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
So you can hear while the vocal's happening, the delay is pushed down, and then as soon as the vocal ends, you hear that delay come up. And it fills the spaces in between the vocal lines, okay? So we'll go back a little bit more subtle. So it's just 3 dB of compression while the vocal's happening. And I'll play it to you inside the mix, okay?
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
That's a little subtle. I'll pull it up.
I'm through with the pain, done faking it.
You hear it? So when the vocal stops, you hear that delay come up and it fills those spaces. I'll play it one more time for you, okay?
I found a way, and I'm taking it.
It's a pretty nice effect, okay? So it's just a compressor and we're sending the input from the delay, okay? So we're sending here into the compressor, we're compressing the dry vocal so it lets the delay come through when there is no vocal, okay? That's it. Those are those 3 effects, and now I'll play them to you all together, okay? So we got the slapback delay, the reverb with the long pre-delay, and the stereo quarter note delay with the sidechain compressor, okay? So here is the finished vocal with all 3 effects on it, all right?
I found a way, and I'm taking it. I'm through with the pain, done faking it. And I'm going home alone.
That's it, folks. That's all you need to help your vocals sit better inside your rock mix, okay? Try some of these on your next song and let me know in the comments down below how it works for you, okay? I'll see you next time.